Hello Factorio people, welcome back to the broadcasts from Krastorio. Episode 4. Last time we got blue tech card set up, the equivalent of chemical science. I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do next when I started, so it's a bit of a mishmash of stuff. Purple tech cards, yellow tech cards, I wasn't quite sure what was going to happen. So I just did some stuff. As always, if you like what you're seeing, make sure to let me know with likes and comments and all that good stuff. And without further ado, let's jump straight in. The base, the bus base. It looks okay. It gets a lot worse. Things start to get quite messy quite quickly. This is roughly the position we left it in, except I added another row of steam engines. Power was getting a little bit tight from time to time. Electric mining drills mostly. Obviously we've got efficiency modules in most of our drills, hopefully. Oh, not those. Need to get that sorted. So we added a second row of power. And the blue cards. What's the first thing you need to do when you get blue tech? Usually it's advanced oil processing so that you can sort that out. Get lubricant so you can make robots. And so that is what I did. I've designed advanced oil cracking maybe 300 times in my life, and it never gets any easier or better. I don't really know. It's just always a mess. I just always feel like it's a bit of a mess. But here we go, here it is. Got your standard heavy oil into lubricant first. Lubricant doesn't... heavy oil doesn't get pumped into light oil until there's a backup of lubricant. And light oil doesn't get pumped into petroleum until there is a decent stockpile of it. Krastorio keeps the same principle that you need light oil to make some things later down the line. Rocket fuel mostly. Let's just search for light oil, shall we? Solid fuel, rocket fuel. There are several recipes for rocket fuel in this mod. One does not require the light oil, it requires ammonia. And one requires hydrogen chloride instead. Making ammonia is kind of a pain in the arse, he says. It's not really that bad. But still, there's some light oil going in here. Because robot frames don't go into any science or anything in Krastorio, it's less relevant to sort of bus certain items for them. So engine units, electric engine units, engine units go into mostly stuff you would want for the mall. And electric engine units are the same, except they go into advanced tech cards. But advanced tech cards are so far down the line that I'm not going to worry about busing engines, electric engines, just for that. Or batteries for that matter. Batteries go into accumulators, so we need to do something about that. But because you can make batteries quite easily, as long as you bust the sulfuric acid, you can just make the batteries on site, right? Most of the rest of the stuff is mall-related things. So it's a bit of an odd one. It's a bit of an odd one. And I think it's good to have a plan with Krastorio. If you make a bus, if you like, oh, it's vanilla, I'll make a bus, I'll bus everything. There are so many intermediates. you can very quickly get yourself into a bit of a mess. I get myself into a bit of a mess in a different way around, because there are things on the bus, there are things that I don't bus, and then I realise I need them. Concrete, for example. Silicon goes into something that I need a bit later down the line. Solar panels, not silicon, what was it? It was something else. It was bricks. Bricks, stone, concrete. You know, I've not bust any of these. You would bust stone and bricks in vanilla, but I haven't done that here, because they don't go into any of the things I need for the science. But it makes handcrafting, it's fine, just make some buffers. Speaking of handcrafting, I have started to process the biomass into Biter research data, which needs simply coke and steel. So I've just done a simple assembler here. I had a quick look. I went through the entire tech tree. As we spoke about last time, and as we have been continuing to speak about, the cards fall out of fashion as the technology gets more complicated. So I thought, oh, what actually do you need for military cards to do everything? Because military cards also fall out of fashion. There are no infinite techs that need military cards. So if my math holds up here, which it almost certainly doesn't, you only need 8,570 military tech cards to research everything in the tech tree. And so, being the bright spark that I am, I thought, well, why bother setting up a production line for something so transient as 8,570 tech cards? So I decided I'm just going to hand feed machines to make the military cards as and when I need them. 8,570. At least 10% of that is in Spidertrons, which needs 2,500 cards. That's crazy. I feel like my math is probably slightly wrong here, given that Spidertron is 2,500 of them. I'm not going to go through it. It's mostly because a lot of the techs are just sort of like 50s and 100s. There's some 300s for things like projectiles and stuff. But anyway, I'm going to hand feed it. Let's continue the expansion towards robot frames. Engines. Go into electric engines with some lubricant. And also there are some batteries here. I was making engines for a long time down here. I just had a simple little thing that made some engines, because you always need a little bit of a stockpile of engines. They go into some early game stuff and you need one or two of them every now and then. A car, pumps, some other things as well, I assume. So there is quite a large buffer here of engines from when I was making them in the early game, and electric engines as well. And I'll buffer these and some batteries, and I'll turn these into flying robot frames so that I can... the plan was to work towards upgrading the whole base to red belts. My 60 science per minute calculations on factorio.github.io, factoriolab.github.io, I should say, is calibrated towards 60 science cards per minute on red belts, because that allowed me to only need 2 belts of iron, 2 belts of copper. You know, nothing really that strenuous to make this sort of mini bus base, taking us to satellites, space science, and then we can think about how we're going to megabase it from there. So I need red belts. Well, I'd like red belts, and I thought now was a good time. Once you've got the robots, you may as well set the red belts up. That will put quite a strain on the iron, of course, so we're going to need a second belt of iron. And oh, I finally used resource monitor, mostly just to see how the oil was going. Oil patches in Krastorio are not unlimited. They don't go down to a base level as they do in vanilla. So you can see up here, it's quite small on the screen. You select the patch that you want to monitor, and it works out how much is in the patch, how much you're using, and gives you a rough estimate as to how long that's going to last. 14 days, 16 hours, 29 minutes, or something like that. I don't know why it says 14 days, 17, and then it says 31H. That seems like a mistake, but anyway, that oil patch shouldn't be a problem for a long time. So yeah, if we're going to do robots and red belts, we're going to need an iron ore expansion for sure. We're going to need the second belt of iron on the bus for sure. And we're going to need roboports, of course. Roboports are quite easy to make. This is why I have all these buffers around the base, because I go past, I pick up 20 steel beams. You know, I pick up a stack of steel beams, 200, a couple of stacks of iron gear wheels, a couple of stacks of advanced circuits. There you go, can make some 10 roboports. Don't need to automate that kind of stuff. Here is the crude beginning of military science. This is obviously going to be quite slow. But don't worry, I change it. I change it. Alright, let's get robots and red belts, shall we? This little thing here makes red belts. Makes red undergrounds as well. Red belts are always a sink for gear wheels. They're less of a sink for gear wheels in Krastorio, thankfully. What is a problem are these undergrounds. Undergrounds in Krastorio need the number of belts for the distance that they travel as part of their recipe. So you need this many belts, or a decent, or you know, a decent 10. And it kind of feels bad, man, to spend 10 red belts to do something like this. It doesn't feel great. It really doesn't. But I've made my bed now, so I'm going to lie in it. This will make a decent amount of red belts. You need red belts for purple tech cards, in fact, because purple tech cards are annoying in Krastorio 2 as they are in vanilla. They need red belts, and they need a decent number of them as well. 10 in each. 10 in each craft. Along with uranium and productivity modules. Yikes. So if you were smart, you probably could have doubled those two things up. But if you're also making a belt maul, because eventually I add the splitters onto this as well. And I haven't ever spoken about loaders yet, but loaders do exist in this mod. Loaders also need iron beams, which are here, so you can squeeze all of that in. I'm not really using that many loaders. I don't intend to use that many loaders until we start expanding quite a lot with trains, and then, you know, that's a whole different beast. So we make the robot frames, and we got a simple upgrade planner here that just turns, well, it turns assembly machine 1s into 2s, which I already did a little while ago, but I just keep it in the upgrade planner in case I missed anything. So this will need a modest 6,000 belts, 341 undergrounds. Now if you look at this, 341 undergrounds is also, as we established, 3,400 red belts as well. So that is not great. So let's take some create the first construction robot, 8 hours. Is that good? I don't know. I don't think it is. Obviously it's not. Off you go, guys. Get to it. Where are you going? I think there are some trees down here that need demolishing. That's what you've decided to start with. I don't recommend you do it like this. I recommend that you upgrade the belts as you need them to be upgraded. By just upgrading your iron ore line or something to a red belt. This is supreme overkill. It's also going to take a long time. It's going to put a strain on the power supply, it's going to put a strain on the iron for far, far, far too long. I don't recommend you do it like this. But nevertheless, this is how I do it. Here are the 2 lanes of iron plates that we therefore need to have 2 lanes of iron on the bus. Sorry, I know I've put all of these stupid upgrade planner things over everything now, which is also annoying. So this is the smelting. This should be all the smelting we need beyond a doubling up of the copper at some point later. Presumably when low density structures decide that they need to be built. And an expansion of the iron ore mining to fit the 4 belts. And then I use the resource monitor to expand the monitoring to the copper, 34 hours, and the iron, only 16 hours. Only. But that's 16 hours at its current pace. And its current pace is, as you can see, not very much. So, while we let the robots do this, this will make 90 belts a minute if it runs at full speed, which it doesn't until I realise that this needs to be a stack inserter. 90 belts per minute, what did we say? 3,000 belts? No. Yeah, like 3,000 belts plus another 3,000 for the undergrounds, for the equivalent undergrounds. 90 a minute, 100 minutes, 9,000. So 2/3 of that. About an hour. Take about an hour-ish. It's not too bad, really, if you put it like that. Right, okay, let's skip forward in time, shall we? Here we go. Here's this with the stack inserter now. This goes a lot better. I put the splitters in the mall as well. The only issue with this is that I have to hand feed it the automation cores, because making automation cores on site is kind of annoying. But you only need 1 automation core to make a splitter. You don't need them in the next bit. So I was buffering automation cores over here as part of the inserter assembly machine area, and they don't take very long to make, 45 a minute. So I'll just carry them over as and when I need them. This will make 1,000 red splitters, which is quite a lot. That's quite a lot of them. So while this was happening, while the bots were getting busy with this, I set a uranium mine up. I ran it over with a belt. I've spoken about this before in my previous broadcast series about the valuation of using train tracks versus using belts. Belts are very cheap. One plate each. They're actually cheaper in Krastorio than they are in vanilla due to the cheapening of the iron gear wheels. And trains in Krastorio are the same, roughly. For me, when something's about this far away, knowing that the base is going to keep expanding this way to the east quite heavily, I'm not too against this. It looks odd, admittedly. But it's fine. So you still need the sulfuric acid as you do, but uranium processing itself is heavily different. there are in fact 4 possible outcomes to the uranium processing recipe. Still needs 10 ore, still 0.7% chance for uranium-235. But you can also, there's a 1 in 4 chance of having some iron ore byproducts and a 50% chance of getting a stone. So there you go. I don't know if you saw that. That actually did 3, I think. So there's nothing stopping you from getting 238 and iron and stone, I believe. That might not be true, because obviously these add up to more than 100%. You definitely get either one of these two, but then I don't know whether you get also one of these two or whether you can get both. I'd have to do some testing. But anyway, these go into the very large warehouse from the mod. There's medium containers which are 2x2 and have 120 slots, and then there are the warehouses. Warehouses and loaders are one of the most overpowered things in Krastorio, because the loaders... Sorry, I'm just rearranging myself in my chair. The loaders also have filters on them. So you can just throw everything into a box and then use a loader here and say, this loader only spits out the 238. And then you have another loader on this side that gets rid of the stone, turns the stone into landfill somewhere. You know, like they are extremely good for sorting things out. Much further down the line, I abuse that to turn the iron ore and the stone into matter, and then turn the matter back into uranium-238, so that there are no non-uranium byproducts from this build. What I tend to do in the mid-game is I tend to just move my concrete production to here, because concrete just needs iron ore and stone bricks and water, so obviously you can make concrete from these byproducts. You need a bit of concrete to get things going, because the centrifuges need 100 concrete each. Concrete. So that's uranium done, and with uranium done we actually have everything we need to do purple tech. So that is what I decided to do. Purple tech cards. Alright, the robots are finally finished. The red belts are backing up. Purple tech. Wow, this isn't finished at all. Why did I make this save file here? I thought I'd finished. Purple tech cards need some uranium. They need blank tech cards as usual. They need fast transport belts, and they need productivity modules. And they need a lot of productivity modules. 1 per card. They also need to be made in research servers as opposed to assembly machines. They look like this. How did I not manage to drag my mouse in a straight line? They look like this. They are just basically the same. They have a crafting speed of 1, they have 2 module slots. They're assembly machines. They're assembly machines, they just have a crafting speed of 1. They just, you know... They just have a different thing. Just to make things slightly more complicated, I guess. Which is fine. Why on earth did I make this save file here? This is bad. What have I... Why have I done this? Let me fix that. That's better. Yeah, purple tech cards are about as much of a mess as purple science, productivity science is in vanilla. It's horrible. But nevertheless, there they are. Purple tech cards also mark the end for the original labs. You now need advanced labs. Original labs just simply don't have a slot in them for purple cards. You cannot use them. And advanced labs remove the slot for basic tech cards. Here's my ever so slightly expanded military tech setup. They only need the bytes of research data, blank tech cards, and electronic components. So on the one hand, it's not too difficult to automate. On the other hand, yeah, just do it like this. So there's already 4,000 military cards in there. We'll see if the 8,000 ends up being correct. How many have I am starting to do some military research now. I know I put all that effort in to get the purple cards, but I thought it was about time. I've only used 573 military tech. These labs are not sufficient enough. Now that we're getting to the area of the game where a lot of the techs start costing, taking 60 seconds per card, this is not enough. They don't all have productivity modules in, my god. Horrendous. They have a research speed of 1 by default. They are the same as the labs. They don't research any faster than a lab. They make a different noise if you can hear that. But functionally they are the same. But yes, of course, we are currently making more than 60 tech cards per minute because we've not put the productivity modules into anything yet. Because we're not actually short enough on resources to worry about using productivity modules. We may as well just research as fast as we can for now. And then when the big heavy hitter items turn up, like the low density structures, then we might need to start thinking about using productivity modules to slow down. I also put down a couple of modules of the pollution filters. There's a mechanic in Krastorio to purify the air. They take these pollution filters. That lasts about 10 minutes, I believe it is. It might be 5 minutes, and then a research changes it to 10 minutes. I can't remember. And for that time, it purifies the pollution from the chunk that it is in. So I build this little thing here, and I put it on the four-way intersection between chunks. And it sort of hoovers up pollution. Let me press my debug mode option here. So we are stood in these 4 chunks here. So you can see the pollution numbers ticking down. I put them in the chunks where obviously all the pollution is happening. Most of it's happening, like the smelting and things. So this is slowly ticking down. There's a 1, you can see a 1 there. You see a 0 in a minute. There we go. So this is ticking down. There's another set of that here as well. So this stops the pollution from spreading too far in this direction. All of this pollution will go into here. You will see a slow improvement in the cloud. As the pollution spreads into new areas, it gets fully absorbed by the grass and the trees, and then as it expands, as these chunks become less polluted, the pollution spreads from the now overly polluted chunks back into the emptier polluted chunks, and that just creates a chain reaction whereby the pollution cloud shrinks. I guess you could imagine it just like someone sucking the pollution up through a straw here, and if this was a puddle of liquid. Anyway, I'm over egging this. This does require me to nip past every now and then and pick up the dirty filters and clean them. But that is also very easy. That simply requires an assembly machine to clean them with some water and a filtration plant to clean the water. And that can be put in a closed system like this. Takes 1 used pollution filter and 50 water, outputs a clean pollution filter and 50 dirty water. And then a filtration plant will take 100 dirty water and output you 100 clean water, and maybe sometimes some stone and some iron. So you just merely seed the pipes with some water, and job's done. If you really, really wanted to, you could just put this into a crusher instead, and then you just wouldn't have anything. But you may as well, you know, you won't get it that often, but you may as well. And then I just make some extra pollution filters here, just because. Actually, I can tell you how often. I got rate calculator, haven't I? Why did I say that this would per minute? An eighth of this. Is that correct? So in 8 minutes, this will take, yeah, they take 8 minutes. So not 5 or 10. There is a research later down the line that improves that. Improved pollution filter. Takes biomass and immersite powder and a pollution filter. Cool. Yeah, I messed up my save files a bit. I did, you know, I did some other things, but I guess I'll save that until next time. The labs need to move, of course. We're going to need some more biomass to get some more military science done. But we got purple tech cards in this episode, so that's pretty good. Obviously next is yellow. And the base is getting a bit messy. It's getting a bit... As I decide I need certain things, I sort of just end up tacking them on. You know, I'm not a huge fan of doing stuff like this to make pollution filters. But equally, I'm not building a mall just because I need some pollution filters. Like, as I say, they're reusable as well. I could have just made 50 by hand and been done with it. It's the robot frames, you know, like I went to all this effort to do the robot frames, I've upgraded my belts, and now I'm not really using the robots. So, then you have it though, then you have it. Okay, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please let me know with a like or a comment, and if you want to see more Krastorio, be sure to subscribe. Next time we'll try and get yellow tech cards done. It should be considerably easier than this. No, that's not true, because we need processing units, and processing units need rare metals. And rare metals need chlorine in much the same way that uranium ore needs sulfuric acid. And also map generation, as liberal as we made it for us, has been a bit stingy on rare metals. There's only one spawn here that has then been destroyed by the water generation tool. So maybe we'll just use this one. I mean, it's no further away than this by the looks of it, but we'll need some landfill for this, and I've got my eye on this stone patch here for landfill. This one is a bit too small, and it's mixed with the coal, so I don't really want to do that. So yeah, we'll probably try and... Getting the chlorine up there is going to be the problem. I'm going to need to mass produce chlorine and pump it up there, but again, it's actually no further away than the uranium is, so I'll probably just do the same thing. Alright, that's the end of that. Thank you so much. Take care. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.